drops to the bottom level of their happiness, all the way down here to this zero happiness, and goes berserk. A berserk dwarf is effectively at that point an enemy of your civilization, and will no longer feel bound by their moral compass to remain a prisoner. They will attempt to break free from a chain that they have been attached to, and if they are strong enough and determined enough, eventually they can break free from a chain, at which point they will go on a rampage. One of the things we will do to solve this problem is to lock this down so that we'll put weapon traps in the hallways, for example, and dogs in the hallways, so that if a prisoner does get out and he's berserk, at that point the traps and the dogs will take care of him. And the next thing we're going to do is forbid all these doors until we actually have a crime to deal with. Why people insist on eating and drinking in the jail over the dining room, I have no idea. The dining room is closer, for God's sakes. I'm not talking right now, guys. Sorry, I've got it paused because the wife is distracting me. Bear with me just a second here. I would say hello, guys, but she doesn't much care for Dwarf Fortress, so the last thing you do want to do is call attention to the fact you exist. This is a forgotten beast worthy of the name. She just doesn't get Dwarf Fortress, guys, and now that you've played it for a little bit and you've seen it with your own eyes, so to speak, do you get it yet? Now, what worries me about forbidding these areas is that I'm worried if I forbid the doors, that while I am keeping people out from eating my jail food, I'm probably also preventing anyone from taking advantage of assigning people to the jail in the event that there is a crime. Well, see, the catch is okay. Let's say it. Someone asked. Okay, let's talk about the distance here. Somebody asked if you're hungry when you get to the jail, a 50 cost one tile walk is less than the 100 back to the lunchroom. Well, yeah, that's probably true, except that if you look at what I've got here, we actually have about each one of those restricted tiles is 50, and just to get to the crossroads between the office and the main jail corridor is a 300 tile walk. It's another 100 tiles to the doorways of the first jail cells on either side. So for those people who are actually walking all the way up to the third cell on the right, that's something like 400 or 500 tiles of distance, and I don't think our rooms are that far away. Someone asked if a burrow would fix that. Maybe I could remove them from the burrow, but the problem is if I do that, then I'm worried that the captain of the guard won't use the... oh no, there's an idea. I could set the captain of the guard up on a burrow that included the cells and put nobody else on the cells, but then if the prisoner gets assigned, the food and drink he wants to use are not at his burrow, and so he gets screwed. I think there's a bug with respect to the justice system that probably hasn't been fixed here, and I don't normally have prisoners, so I've probably never noticed that people eat in my cells all day long. Guess I probably want to let the carpenter out before I lock that door. I don't think the doors actually count as a job, and so what will happen is you'll end up with a situation where the doors will be open because they're not part of the job, they're just there. I'm sure there's a bug here that we're trying to work around and we just don't realize it. I mean, I admit, it's a fair distance from the dining room to that pile of booze sitting right there, but I'm pretty certain it's not 400 or 500 tiles worth of distance, which is what this should be by virtue of its restriction. Well, let me know what you find on the wiki there, and I'll try and incorporate it. I actually had to check my notes the other night when I was trying to figure out how to assign multiple orders, because I've done it a couple of times, but I just don't do it in my fortresses often enough to matter. At this point, if I pause the game for just a moment, literally half of our fortress off by 2, so just like 49% of our fortress is ecstatic right now. Okay, let's talk arena. Our loom just got very busy. For the record, I turned it from dyed thread back to all thread because we've been using up steadily the cloth that we've been importing, but we've got 700 units of thread sitting around in the stockpiles doing nothing because it's not dyed at the moment. I want to get some of that converted back into cloth so I can kind of move the bulk of our cloth over to where it's going to be useful for producing those cloth garments that we're going to need for when our dwarves start running out of food, or running out of clothing. See, I shouldn't have to make a stockpile outside the cells so other dwarves feed them, because I should be able to make when you put them on a chain, they have a one-tile reach, effectively, so they can reach the bed next to the chain, they reach the chair next to the chain. They should be able to reach anything in their own cell. So if I have food in the cell, they should be able to reach it, and they shouldn't need anybody to actually feed them. So what I will probably end up having to do is just, leave it forbidden and see what happens. See, it's marked as 8 of 9 cages and chains, so hopefully the fact that the doors are forbidden, what will happen is they'll get assigned to the chain or the cage, and we can catch it when there's a crime, and simply unforbid the doors, let the people in to put the prisoner on, and then we'll just deal with it at that point. Two cages linked up. Yeah, I'm betting there's a bug that causes the justice system rooms to be preferential, no matter how far away they might be. That's the kind of thing Toadie's going to have to fix. There's not even going to be a good DF hack plug-in to fix that kind of thing. I guess I could just, let all my dwarves get hammer sentences, or I could skip using the justice system entirely. But since it's a tutorial, I'm going to kind of show you everything, even if I don't necessarily use it. Justice is one of those priorities that's so far down my list that I don't even usually see it before year 5. You make an exception. Yeah. Unfortunately, the dwarves won't let you make the exception until after they've passed the sentence. So what you end up with is your dwarves get hammered. See, now what we need here is an American justice system. So if you're not a legendary worker, well, then you get hammered. And if you are a legendary worker, then we give you a raise. We are in year 154, and if I recall correctly, that is the 3rd year. I think we started in 151. Now, of course, I'm going to find out that I have to do something to disarm the goblins, and I've probably locked myself out of that, so give me a second, I gotta check my notes. And the humans have come again. Good news is they're not going to get burned up by the wildfire this time, right?
Damn it all, I am seen.
No goods for you. Yeah, one of the dogs on the chains, both of which I believe got injured. It may just be the one. I think that one that's it. Yeah, it's only the one dog that got injured. He lost both front paws, first one, then the other. Amusingly enough, it is not the dog who killed a kobold. When a dog kills a kobold, it's actually given a name. So this Datu Kanu here is a named dog because it butchered a kobold on its way in last time, or at some point along the way. This war dog that's actually injured is simply a stray war dog with a whole lot fewer paws here. Right rear paw dented, left front paw gone. Oh, no, our named dog did lose the other paw, so it's one paw from both dogs. You were asking about the mandate. Export of crutches. Basically, if a mayor decides they like short swords, for example, they'll demand that you make short swords, and then immediately forbid export of short swords. Yeah, there's that. Now, one of the interactions you're going to run into is you're going to try and export short swords when there is no ban on short swords, and then before the caravan leaves, he'll ban the export of short swords. At that point, the goods that are already on the caravan as they leave are considered a violation of the export ban, and you will have people punished for it. Welcome to the Dwarven justice system. Chained war kangaroo. Almost have a chained war kangaroo. I have a chained war half kangaroo. This is what you get if you try to trade before they're finished unloading their goods. They're going to sell me a trap component that I don't want. and 1 to grow on. No, we haven't encrusted anything with gems yet. I'm going to set up a set of workshops down in the gem area here, down where we've got that to specifically deal with that question. I think I'm probably going to set up the gem workshops actually in their own floor. Currently they're mixed in with the mechanics workshops. Now that we've traded with the humans, though, I don't have any use for that stuff up there, so we're good there. At this point, musical instruments will be the only thing we allow in this stockpile besides gems. We will set this stockpile up to give to all 4 of these workshops. They will take their goods only from this workshop, so they will only use gems that are found in this stockpile. They will only use musical instruments that are found in this stockpile. If I want to encrust something other than musical instruments, I will have to alter this stockpile to allow whatever it is I want to encrust. At that point, musical instruments should be brought here, and gems should be brought here and assigned to these workshops. Now, I think I have to turn off gems because I think I have gems in this workshop here, but we'll get rid of it. We should get a group of haulers who comes along here momentarily and removes the spears from the goblins. That was the point of... I used the hide mechanism to point out in the stocks which ones the goblin spears were. Even though the spears technically belong to the goblins, they show up in the stocks listing for your fortress. With their weapons removed, they will be much more docile, effectively, so that when I equip my military with training weapons and station them all in this room, lock them in, and deploy the cages, they'll proceed to beat the holy tar out of the goblins with training weapons because they outnumber the goblins 3-1 or 4-1, and you'll end up with a situation where the goblins can fight back and improve my dwarves' skills, but they can't fight back well enough to deal with 40 or 50 people all wailing away with even cheap low quality weapons. No goblins will survive. This is not a survivable outcome for them. This is a how long does it take you to die kind of outcome.
I have a wondrous invention idea.
A dwarf has claimed a workshop.
Glad we brought some wood in. This will probably also be a useless item, but we'll get a legendary carpenter out of it. Only I think we probably, already have him as a legendary carpenter, so we're probably not getting much. Yeah, we're not going to get a whole lot. I hope this is simply Dwarf Fortress whiting out when we tabbed back, and not a case where the game has just crashed on us. Oh, good. It's just the change of seasons happened while we were tabbing.
No.
Somebody's creeped back down into fine territory again, so let's see who's fine now. Probably Sigan again, because she really, really needs to get something done skill-wise here. Yeah, it's Sigan again. Unfortunately, I don't think we can do much for her. She's got military skill, so she's okay with being on duty. I think it's just when she goes off duty, she has no labors at level 1 yet, so we need to get her something that she can do, pretty much full time to give her at least a level 1 skill so she stops going down into the doldrums every time we take her off duty. Or we need to get her to be legendary so she never needs to go off duty again. Both of those will work. There are, in my experience, few problems that you can't butcher your way out of. And as an added bonus, we can now call her Sigyn the Butcher. Sigyn will be along momentarily to take up her new role as the axe-wielding monster to all turkeys within our fortress. In addition to our turkeys, we now have ducks.
An artifact has been completed. It
Oh,
will be
yeah.
placed on our walls. I hope one gets in my room.
It's not a particularly, impressive item because it's a, wooden item, but you put an artifact in the middle of a dining room. Right now, it is a grand dining room. I believe that artifact alone will get it moved up to Royal, but I'm not sure. No, needs a bit more yet. Now, of course, every dwarf in the fortress who comes to get a meal is going to walk right past an artifact on the way. So every dwarf in the fortress is going to have admired a wonderful floor hatch recently. All of them. Yeah, our engravers are kind of slacking off here. They haven't finished yet, have they? Yeah, the amazing part is it's a hatch that covers a stairwell that has stairwells on all around it, so the fact that there's a hatch on one of them, anyway. I don't actually think it had much of anything on it. Let's take a quick look, and I'll look at it again. Nope, just hanging rings of cedar with a cedar hatch cover, that's it. And already you can see, if you look at the dwarven population, other than the people who are, kind of upset because they've got all that stuff going on with their lives, we're starting to migrate the population into the ecstatic range. At this point, more than half our fortress is ecstatic, and the numbers keep ticking upward as more things happen here. Oh, it smells nice. Now, see these arrows stacking up here on the lower floor? This is the reason why we cut those channels, is so that things would fall down onto the lower level. Any of the arrows that miss the target and fall down don't break. They can just be reclaimed. So at this point, I've got some arrows just laying around waiting to be picked up. For those of you wondering, the jaguar, and I think it's a dingo, sitting in the cage. Non-grazers can be kept in a cage indefinitely. Those are both carnivores, so they can basically sit there. The snail is the other cage sitting there, and vermin don't eat either, so they can basically sit in their cage forever. I think we probably have some dogs now to be trained into war dogs, so let's take a quick look. Somebody was asking about that earlier. Let's see if we can't find some dogs here to be trained. Here's a dog. You hit W, presto, he's going to get trained as a war dog. It's really that easy. You hear a barking noise here in a minute. I think Sigan just became a butcher. Once she has at least a level 1 in a non-military skill, like this, she can now be safely relieved from duty. So, at this point, we'll go back to making her a regular old smasher. And we can turn butchering back on for those people that really probably should have it, which is our bone workers. No, there are a great number of animals you can't train. First off, any vermin can't be trained for anything, and most things can't be trained for war or hunting. A lot of carnivores can be trained for war. So we still have 10 soap. So we're in good shape there. Okay, it's a good time to go over our list and see what we've done and what we haven't done. Not getting a whole lot done here, are we? Hey, you know what? I know what we never did that we should have. Wanted to make sure we had at least 10 bronze picks. We're in good shape. I wanted to make sure we assigned additional miners. One of the problems we're running into is that it's taking forever and a day to mine anything because we've only got 4 guys doing the job. At this point, our folks will finish up what they're doing and then immediately go on to start mining if they weren't already. Or producing mechanisms if they're one of the folks that's doing that. I guess I should probably get that job back in the hands of the doctors. Yeah, I made 10 bronze picks at the very, 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 very start of the map when we very first got into things. And I've only used 4 of them. They've been sitting in the stockpile all along. So at this point, you know, getting our some of our idle haulers transitioned from hauling duty into uh, actually doing something useful, like, I don't know, mining out this goblin grinder finally would be a pretty good idea.
More migrants.
And we've crossed the 100 dwarf mark now. Notice that you cannot melt a artifact. The only copper low boot we have is actually that artifact boot we made earlier. You can't melt it. Using this menu will cause that. I'm just going to melt everything down that I don't think I need, and away we go. It will cause that. So basically what I'll end up with is, say for example, I'm melting a spear. I don't know what the actual ratio you get is on a spear. It might be a bar and a half and it takes 2 bars to make them, for example. I don't know. We'll get less back for most of the things we melted. There's a few things we'll get extras from, but most of them are going to effectively melt at a loss, but they are low quality items I don't care about. Copper chain leggings, for example, are useless to me as armor. But I'll actually get more than a bar back, or get more back from them than they actually took to produce them in the first place. So one of the things we're getting ready to do here is I'm going to show you a sneaky trick that you should probably never use, because it will effectively allow you to have infinite metal forever. And it works like this. Then once you get them all made, you just melt them. Leggings have a raw bug currently where they produce more when they are melted than they actually require when they are made in the first place. So effectively they are metal generators. Feel free to abuse the hell out of it for now. At some point that will go away and then you'll be stuck. Be cautious when you are melting items. Melting a masterpiece, I didn't check, and it's possible we're going to have a problem here in a minute. Melting a masterpiece is a significant negative thought, depending on how many masterpieces that person has created. So you have to be cautious that as your guys get to higher levels of skill, you're not melting down their masterpieces. You'll end up with a situation where they'll go berserk just out of nowhere, and you'll start losing